Waiting, waiting, I've been waiting, waiting, waiting all my life. The night keeps on hiding from me, but its sun may just light bless my sight. Waiting, waiting, Good morning and welcome. Freedom begins in your heart. 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 Let my voice begin to sing and speak from my heart. Let my voice begin to sing and speak from my heart. Let my feet begin to dance and move with my voice. Let my feet begin to dance and move with my voice. Freedom begins in your heart. 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 Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world on your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain?
Good morning and welcome everyone to White Bear Unitarian Universalist Church. I am Jillian Lampert, pronouns she, her, serving on your board of directors. Service participants today include Reverend Sarah Goodman, Nico Van Ostrand, Victoria Safford, supported by Aaron Scott and Anna Garris. Music today is from Carol Coette, Craig Hansen, Becky Piench, the Charlotte's Web Ensemble, Peter Mayer, and the choir, directed by Thaxter Cuneo. If you are new to our community, we would like to welcome you to a newcomer orientation right after the service with one of our ministry staff. Also after the service today at 11:15, plan to join us for Cyber Social Hour, a half hour of community conversation, a great way to meet friends, old and new. We'll put the Zoom link in the chat box. Also, you will want to watch the e-news this week. You can sign up for spring and summer courtyard gatherings in person here at church. These gatherings will feature our flower communion and a ritual walk through the sanctuary. You don't want to miss it. Those gatherings will be starting later this month, and other in-person gatherings are coming soon. Welcome to our church. Together we grow our souls and serve the world in love.
Come in. Come into this space which we make holy by our presence. Come in with all your vulnerabilities and strengths, fears and anxieties, loves and hopes. For here you need not hide nor pretend, nor be anything other than who you are and who you are called to be. Come into this space where we can heal and be healed, forgive and be forgiven. Come into this space where the ordinary is sanctified, the human is celebrated, the compassionate is expected. Come into this space. Together we make it a holy space. Stephanie Majors will light the chalice.
Good morning. Today, I light the chalice for change. In the recent days, weeks, months, and year, my mind has continually been a blended swirl of contemplation amidst so many trying situations. Each day on my drive to work, attempting to absorb and process the enormity of what seems like another massive, unimaginable reality that took place, I find myself infinitely circling the same questions over and over. What can I do? How can what I do make an impact? What can I do that matters? What really does matter? Why can't everything matter? How can we be destructing the world that has been built for our children? Has the world ever really been built, per se, for the better? And again, what can I do? I can choose kindness. I can do small things. I can do hard things. I can notice. I have a voice. There are countless readings, poems, blogs, and articles, new and old, that have filled me with thought and hope over this past year. I have chosen two to share with you today. From the poet Shel Silverstein. She had blue skin, and so did he. He kept it hid, and so did she. They searched for blue their whole life through, then passed right by and never knew. And the second is from the author Arundhati Roy. She writes, "To love, to be loved, to never forget your own insignificance, to never get used to the unspeakable violence and the vulgar disparity of life around you, to seek joy in the saddest places, to pursue beauty to its lair, to never simplify what is complicated or complicate what is simple, to respect strength, never power. Above all, to watch, to try and understand, to never look away, and never, never to forget. Another world is not only possible, she is on her way. On a quiet day, I can hear her breathing."
Join me in our opening words. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. Join now in our hymn, "There's a River Flowing in My Soul," singing the journey number 1007.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul.
This morning's story is called Beautiful Hands by Barb Pittman from You and Me Collected Stories. As I share this story, and perhaps again at some point this afternoon, I invite you to imagine what the story is calling you to do for yourself and for the people in your circle. She was bewildered and ashamed. The other hands in the classroom were smooth, with nails cleanly cut. Hands raised to answer the teacher's question, hands engaged in the age-old art of spitball forming, hands writing on the blackboard. They all seemed so new, so unused, so beautiful. May hid her hands. In kindergarten, she hid them under the table. In first grade, she hid them under the table. In second grade, third grade, and even fourth grade, she hid her hands in this way. Winters were always easier, thanks to Grandma's handmade mittens, colorful and bold, decorated with baby ducks, and later with purple and blue stripes. The mittens meant May felt no shame walking to school, carrying books and lunch for herself and her sister. Exclamations like, "Oh, how beautiful," and "I wish my grandma would make me some mittens with stripes," stirred up hope inside May, and for a brief moment she would tell herself she was one of them, for they would forget her hands and remember instead her beautiful mittens. Back in the classroom, May would catch someone looking in her direction and shove her hands back under the desk. She never raised her hand, never applauded with excitement. She wrote in hurried strokes of the pencil so as not to have her hands in full view for very long. One day, she was walking through the school hallway with her hands shoved into her pants pockets. In the hallway that day, she saw a poster for an art class. It was a special art class. It was going to be taught by her favorite teacher, and each student was going to be able to learn to draw and paint. She signed her name on the poster, and all the way home, she thought about the kind of art project she might make. Her mom worked all night long while she watched her younger sister, and she thought maybe Mom would like a pretty picture to look at when she got home from work. She also thought about how tired Mom was during the day, trying to sleep while the rest of the world was awake, and May thought she might make a "do not disturb" sign for the front door. And then she remembered her beautiful mittens and thought she might draw a pattern to send to Grandma so Grandma could make new mittens, even some for her sister. As soon as May got home, she sat her sister Kate at the kitchen table for a snack. As she did the breakfast dishes and tried to keep Kate quiet so they would not wake up Mom, May thought of all the wonderful art projects she could try. May was so busy planning her project, she forgot about her hands. She finished the dishes, got out the mop to clean up the milk that didn't quite make it to Kate's mouth, and chopped potatoes for dinner. Mom was up by now and was rushing out the door to get to work. Mom kissed May on the head, told the girls she loved them so much, and went off to work. May helped Kate with her bath, tucked her into bed, made up Mom's bed, and vacuumed the front room. After doing her homework, May went to bed and dreamt of being a famous artist. Everyone in town marveled at her beautiful paintings. She won awards from her school and even got to give a speech in front of the governor. When May woke up, she jumped out of bed, excited about the art class. As she braided Kate's hair, she saw her hands and suddenly realized she could not paint or draw without the other children seeing her hands. She could not get Kate ready fast enough and practically pulled her all the way to school. May ran to the hallway to cross her name off the poster, but it was not there. Poster and sign-up sheet were gone. She went to class and told her teacher she needed to drop out of the art class. The teacher said she would have to go to the art class and tell the art teacher that she was no longer interested in the class. When May went to the art class that day, she tried to get the teacher's attention, but there were so many other children in the class and such a lot of noise that May decided she would wait until after the class to talk to the art teacher. After the teacher got the class to quiet down, she started talking a little bit about drawing things, how important it was to draw what you saw, even if no one else saw the same thing. She said they would eventually draw their pets and maybe even a family member, but that their first lesson was to draw their own hand. May was stunned and tried her very best not to cry in front of the other children. Though there were many things she wanted to draw, her hand was certainly not one of them. Still, she did her best, though she was ashamed to even look at the rough redness around her nails. She had little bumps on her palms, and the lines in her hands reminded her of Grandma's hands. May finished her drawing and left as quickly as possible, even before the teacher had collected the hand pictures and told them what they would be doing the next day. The following morning, May was determined to tell the art teacher she could not take the class anymore. When she got to art class, the teacher talked about all the wonderful hand drawings she had gathered from their desks the day before. The art teacher laughed about the hand drawing that showed pink and purple dotted fingernails. She laughed about the hand that had diamond rings on every finger and 4 diamond rings on the thumb. Then she held up a hand drawing that was familiar to May. It showed a small hand with fingers curled toward the palm as if holding a precious stone or delicate butterfly. May shoved her hands under the desk and wanted to crawl under there to hide along with her hands. The teacher said, "Of all the hand drawings I saw yesterday, this is the one I could not stop looking at. This is an interesting drawing, a beautiful drawing, for it shows a hand that is not idle. It shows a hand that has worked hard. Fingers are curved as if to protect something fragile." She walked to May's desk and asked May, "Could I please see your hand?" May did not want to show her hand, but being accustomed to obeying teachers, she pulled her hand out from under the desk. The teacher took May's hand in her own. "Now," said the teacher, "as I hold in my hand the hand from this drawing, I can see that I was not wrong. It is a hand that has caressed little kittens and held small daisies. It is a hand that has washed many dishes, folded laundry, given baths, and combed hair. Yes, this is a very interesting hand. It is a beautiful hand." With that, the teacher went back and started talking about that afternoon's drawing assignment. After class, May ran all the way home, dragging Kate part of the way and carrying her the rest of the way. She put the drawing on Mom's bed, and with her rough red hands, she washed the dishes, fixed dinner, bathed Kate, and finished her homework. As she lay down in bed, she noticed that the glow from the moon was shining on her hands. They looked different tonight. May thought of the many dishes and counters she washed when Mom was sleeping. She thought of the times she had bathed her sister and cleaned up the house when Mom was at work. She thought about the way her palm fit over Kate's cheek and how wonderful her sister's skin felt to her hand. She remembered the tender kisses Mommy gave her hands when she came home from work in the dark hours of the early morning. She would hear her mommy say, "Thank you, May, for all of your help. I could not do this without you." Just as the little girl with the red, rough hands was starting to nod off, she looked one more time at her hands, and she smiled, for they really were most interesting hands.
Nico, thank you. Let's take a breath here. Friends, I invite you to rest for a moment in the quiet of the morning, the beauty of the day. Quiet your breathing, quiet your thinking. Let yourself wander for a moment back to this space, your beloved home on Maple Street, filled with light, the great window welcoming 100 kinds of green today in mist, and the little stream that carries mallards on its back and turtles underneath. Close your eyes and think of this house filled with people. Some you know well, some you really don't, but they're all your people, these children and adults. Bring yourself back to this space in your heart. Imagine now others are doing this, each in their own homes. And as they do it, they're picturing you, whether they know you well or not. They're conjuring you a memory of sharing a hymnal, a pack of tissues, a greeting. They're holding you. We're holding you, holding each other in memory and also in hope. If you've never been here physically, geographically, that doesn't matter. Think of a space that you love, one you know well, or one taking shape in your imagination where you can truly be at home, welcomed, a place you belong without question, a place and a people to whom you belong. Speak a silent blessing now for the people, the ones you sorely miss, the ones you've not yet met. May there be peace in their spirits, in their homes. May there be health and healing. May those who live with mental illness or addiction or depression be strengthened in body and soul. For everyone, each one, may there be less fear, less anxiety, less shame, more love, more joy. Take a breath, take a beat. Be mindful and be a little amazed that others whom you know and whom you maybe don't are blessing you now. They're holding you in light. We're not together yet in person, not quite yet, but we are also not alone. For the gift of community and for the larger love which holds us all in hands of light, we are grateful this morning. Amen.
Every financial gift to our congregation goes to support the programs we've come to rely on as anchors in our lives. Gathering spaces and materials for children, youth and families, choral rehearsals and music, classes and small groups, justice work and public witness, pastoral care, rites of passage, Sunday services. You can contribute to the offering today by sending a check or by following the easy prompt to text to give. Thank you for your generous support.
The reading this morning is from Terry Tempest Williams from her book, Finding Beauty in a Broken World. Eloquence is spoken through the labor of hands, anonymous hands of forgotten centuries. With eyes looking up, artisans rolled gold tesserae between their fingers in thought as they searched for the precise placement in domes and apses where light could converse with glass. Jeweled ceilings became lavish tales. I want to understand these stories told through fragments. I am an apprentice in a mosaic workshop. A mosaic is a conversation between what is broken. A mosaic is a conversation that takes place on surfaces. A mosaic is a conversation with light, with color, with form. A mosaic is a conversation with time. Back at the workshop, I sit down and finish the upper right-hand corner of the lilies, cutting tesserae in the shapes of triangles. My eye is more acute in recognizing patterns that serve the whole. I'm learning to watch and study. I'm also learning to trust the motion that comes through color and interstices, not in the controlled static placement of each cube, but in the joy of odd arrangements and unpredictable moves of choice. I believe in the beauty of all things common: lilies, stone, cut glass, I believe in the beauty of all things broken. After the final steps, we bring our mosaics back to our individual workspaces and begin the laborious process of cleaning each tesserae like a dentist cleans teeth. Our dream of perfection interrupted by our teacher, Luciana's gruff voice, "Enough. It is time now to see the beauty, the imperfect beauty." I came to this workshop in Ravenna because of the word mosaic, unaware of the landscape I was entering. I came to the mosaic workshop in Ravenna to learn a new language with my hands. People talk about medium. What is your medium? My medium as a writer has been dirt, clay, sand, what I could touch, hold, stand on, stand for, earth. My medium has been earth, earth in correspondence with my mind. Here in the village of Ravenna, a continent away from where I live, I am indeed learning a new language, but it's very different from the one I imagined I now look to. I now look to my hands. Mosaic is a way to organize your life. Luciana gives us her last instructions. Making mosaics is a way of thinking about the world. Her final words, mosaics are created out of community.
We can do is keep breathing now.
All I can do is keep breathing. all we can do is keep breathing. This has been an incredibly hard year, and some days all we can do is keep breathing. Some days we think deep thoughts while we stare at a wall, and some days we stare at a wall without a thought in our head, just breathing. Week after week, when I lead our meditation time, I ask you to breathe with me, because often we need to be reminded that we are still breathing. Sometimes in meetings and other gatherings, I'll ask you to take a breath with me because I know that I'm breathing too shallowly and I need to take a deep breath to center myself, which means you could probably use one too. So right now, let's take a deep breath. It's been a rough year, and there is more to come before our lives find a new rhythm. Before we can find a new sense of wholeness, we are here breaking open. Can only things that have never been broken be whole? This month, we're talking about wholeness, the practice of breaking open, which on first glance may be a play in opposites, but with consideration, they are tightly interwoven. Images flood my mind when I think about wholeness and brokenness. I can imagine them as siblings holding hands, spinning in a circle, holding each other balanced as they spin faster and faster before letting go and falling down. That moment, though, where they feel their pull in opposite directions, tightening their grip on each other, feeling that center pivot unite them, that is the important moment. To me, that is wholeness and breaking open, point, counterpoint, holding each other up, pulling each other into faster motion. Yes, breaking open is often painful and traumatic and just really hard. And in some ways, wholeness can be hard and painful too, when it's just an appearance of wholeness that wasn't ever really whole inside. Wholeness is supposed to be a goal, right? But that feeling of completion that's implied with the word whole is just an unachievable goalpost. Wholeness, as in never broken, is not possible in living a life. Wholeness, as in intact, no pieces missing, isn't a thing for a community either. If by wholeness you mean perfection, then you and I aren't talking about the same thing. Because when I say wholeness, I mean broken open. Because when I say broken open, I mean wholeness. The wholeness I'm talking about is a feeling of centeredness in our off-centeredness. The wholeness that I'm talking about is a larger wholeness than we've known previously, like a seed breaking open to become a plant, a tree, to become something it never imagined becoming. What can we become when we allow ourselves to break open, to heal from that breaking, and to grow beyond into something more? I, of course, am using this metaphor on several levels. As individuals, I believe that we all have the capacity to grow ourselves into who we are called to be. That's why I'm here doing this work in this congregation, because you want to grow your souls and you want to do it as part of a community, a part of this community. But I'm here also in this congregation because you want to serve the world. And you intimately see the importance of both, because you know, many of you from personal experience, how hard it is to change the world for the better when the injustice we see, when we see it, it is constantly changing into something else. We know how hard it is to change the world for the better when actually the injustice we see happening in our culture, in the wider world, they haven't really shifted that much in our lifetimes, in our parents' lifetimes, when the conflicts are the same ancient conflicts we've been rehashing for generation upon generation upon generation. Our democracy is threatened here in the United States. Fascism is on the rise globally, and a global pandemic is raging, barely checked in many places and raging wildly out of control in others, with powerhouse dominant governments hoarding vaccines for their own countries and only as an afterthought sharing the excess. Our wholeness is broken globally. Our planet's temperature is rising. Our climate is changing, and we are all going to find out what it really means to be part of an interdependent web of existence very soon. And here we are on a precipice as a congregation. A big ending is coming our way as we say goodbye to Victoria and Thaxter, who have helped to shape this church into who we are today. And maybe it feels like a breaking. Maybe it feels like the ending, but as every writer knows, the end is only the beginning of the next story. Just when we think a thing is irreparably broken, it can find a new life as something different, part of a greater whole. Victoria shared with us earlier in the service the reading from Terry Tempest Williams, her thoughts about the art of mosaic. Mosaic is an art form that takes broken pieces of glass or tile or ceramic or rock or stone and reconfigures them into something new. Mosaic artist Marco De Luca shared these thoughts with Williams while she was in Ravenna. Mosaic became the way I perceived the world. Break it up and recreate unity. Part of the nature of humanity is to recompose a unity that has been broken. In Mosaic, I recreate an order out of shards. Recreate an order out of shards. Shards of varieties of textures and colors, shards that reflect the light differently and must be chosen to complement the exact location it will be placed. Things get broken. People get broken. Feelings get broken. And then we put them back together. If we do it with intention, noticing how each shard of light interacts, we can create something with great depth and motion, something of great beauty and imperfection. William writes, eloquence is spoken through the labor of hands, anonymous hands, forgotten centuries, with eyes looking up. Artisans roll gold tesserae between their fingers in thought, and as they search for the precise placement in domes and asps where light could converse with glass. Jeweled ceilings became lavish tales, and I want to understand these stories told through fragments, she says. Mosaic is a conversation between what is broken. Mosaic is a conversation that takes place on surfaces. A mosaic is a conversation with light, with color, with form. A mosaic is a conversation with time. A mosaic of community is created over time and shifts as new people come and others fall away. A mosaic of this community holds all the pieces of folks who brought this congregation from a tiny fellowship in people's homes to where we are today with a glorious building around maybe about 1,000 people who call this community home. So many hands created this. So many craftspeople took time to mull over exactly where to place a single piece of textured glass, golden or taupe, to make the image vibrant, to shine the vision of the congregation into the future. I, like Williams, believe in the beauty of all things common. Lilies, stone, cut glass. I believe in the beauty of all things broken, she said. I believe in the beauty of vulnerability and strength, the way they intermingle brokenness and wholeness, both in their measure. I believe that there's so much beauty in imperfection. Our brokenness makes us real. The spots where our fur has rubbed off, to speak of a favorite children's author, the book, The Velveteen Rabbit, the spots where our fur has been rubbed off are the spots that make us real. Imagine with me, imagine a ceiling I saw when I was in Italy way back in the days when we could still travel. Imagine this ceiling. I imagined my memory of this ceiling that I saw in a cathedral, lined with hundreds of thousands of tiny cubes of broken glass glittering and telling a story. And I think of a different ceiling that I saw in Italy, the inside of a historic stateroom adorned with acres of solid gold. That told a different kind of story. In that room, I looked up and I thought, how many people would this ceiling feed if they sold the gold? How could this seat of government work under the ceiling day after day and not feel the weight of human suffering that could have been solved, but instead went into a solid gold ceiling? The contrasts to me are vast, but also here. The gold was melted and shaped into perfect shapes from a valuable commodity, while the mosaics were made up of broken pieces of a low value commodity. The beauty of the mosaic is in the ways that these little broken pieces fit together. The broken pieces complement and shape each other and are only beautiful when they're together. The problem with using the metaphor of mosaic is that at the end of the process, there's a final product of a mosaic, a final done piece. But in the mosaic of community, we are always building, always breaking things open again, and always coming back together. That's the work. That's why we're here. And that's the beauty of it. We are never done making the mosaic. It is an ever evolving, ever expanding artwork of broken pieces, shards that reflect the light of our community out into the world. Keep that light shining, friends. Keep breathing. And join me in singing our closing hymn, number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom We are blessed with love and amazing grace when our heart is in a holy place. When we share the silence of sacred space and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place.
Please join me in the closing words. May peace dwell within our hearts and understanding in our minds. May courage steel our will and the love of truth forever guide us.
Thanks everyone for joining us today. If you're visiting this morning, please stop by the welcoming gathering right after the service hosted by our ministry team. And all are welcome to join us for Cyber Social Hour, a half hour at 11:15. Links for both gatherings are in the chat. Watch the e-news this week on Wednesday. You can sign up for spring and summer courtyard gatherings in person here at church. Courtyard gatherings will be circles of about 40 people, children and adults together, safely distanced, a 45-minute gathering with music, time for sharing, a story, and flower communion. All are welcome, but we're asking that you register. The link is in the Wednesday e-news. The first gathering is coming up on Saturday, May 29th, and other in-person opportunities are coming soon. We are sending love to you from St. Paul, Woodbury, Minneapolis, White Bear Lake, and 328 Maple Street. Be well, friends.
I'm like one of those Japanese bowls that were made long ago. I have some cracks in me. They have been filled with gold. That's what they used back then, when they had a bowl to mend. It did not hide the cracks. It made them shine instead. So now every old scar shows from every time I broke, and anyone's eyes can see I'm not what I used to be. But in a collector's mind, all of these jagged lines make me more beautiful and worth a much higher price. I'm like one of those Japanese bowls. I was made long ago. I have some cracks you can see.